Hello, friends. I am Chevy. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? I hope it's fantastic. Everything here is great. And apparently, me and the word done speak different languages. Because, of course, after saying my game was done, I've made changes. I've made a number of changes, but I still don't think it invalidates my calling the game done. What I so, so let me backtrack and say that when I say it's done, I mean it's done in a sense of I'm not chasing any large mechanics anymore or mechanisms. The gameplay is set, like it works the way that I intended for it to work. And the only things left to do, if I were to do anything, were minor tweaks. And that's what I've done. I played games on Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. A friend came over, played with M, played with my friend. They played, M and my friend played yesterday, and then me and my friend played yesterday. He wanted to play immediately again, so I played with him the second game. A few things came out of that. Prior to doing all of that, I made a few visual changes just because the way that I was tracking rounds was awkward, more awkward than it needed to be. It's already awkward. It's this extra little thing, but it was more awkward the way because I tried to keep the track as short as possible, and it just didn't work. So I fixed that. I just threw that away and fixed it. I made a couple of tiny rule tweaks because there were, when I first made the game, I tried to think of it from like a publisher standpoint, a production standpoint. Can I go to a publisher and say, I want you to produce this two-player train game, and it has 200 trains in it? Like, you need to make 200 pieces, which seems outrageous, right? Like, that's a large number of pieces. And so because of that, I tried to reduce the number there's two colors that have the least number of shares. So theoretically, they'd put less on the board than like the one color that has way more. So I tried to reduce it by like saying, all right, there's only 30 of these, 35 of these, and 40 of these. And then I had it in the rules that if you tried to draw from a color and it wasn't available, you just couldn't do that. And it just does. I just threw that away. Like no need. I just everybody's going to have 35 trains. Or right now everybody has 40 because that's how many I have. But I just took the stupid rule out about it being a limited supply. I don't intend for it to be limited, and the publisher can include how many trains they feel like including. So I made that tweak. But the other things that have popped up that I tweaked a little bit last night just to play around with a couple ideas. I didn't really like either of them because they're a little bit clunky. There's 3 face-up cards you can draw from, and what happens when nobody's taking those cards, and those cards never cycle, and you're just going from the top of the deck? For me, that's not a problem. I don't see that as being an issue with the game. I see that as being a limitation, which is not necessarily a bad thing in a game this open. And I also, the thing was that the cards that are valued 3, 4, and 5, the threes just kind of sit there, because why would you take a 3? But in my opinion, there's a lot of really valid reasons to take those 3s and play them, because you're not wasting potential, meaning that you have a 5 in your hand, and you're going to play it to make a connection that only costs you 3 build points. Why are you doing that? Like, you're wasting potential, number 1, in the lost trains, number 2, in your end game score, because that card in your hand is worth $5, right? So play the 3. Like, take the 3, play the 3. But other people don't play that way, and those other people beat me. So maybe I'm wrong. But there's no cycling of those cards. There's no inherent way to cycle those 3 face-up cards unless somebody takes one. And taking a 3 and then flipping a 5 is just a really shitty feeling. So nobody likes to do that. So I might revisit that. We're going to try to play with a couple of different ideas on how to get cards into your hand, and maybe even eliminating the face-up stack. We'll see. I'm not sure yet how I'm going to deal with that. But that is I get it. Like, from everybody else has an issue with it except for me, and I'll figure out a way to fix that. The other thing was some of the cards, some of the special powers, were either really underwhelming or maybe even a little too strong. So I've tweaked like 4 of those. I got rid of 2 of them, replaced them with 2 new cards, made one significantly better, and nerfed the one that was a little bit too much. And in doing that, a little bit of the language on the cards, I made it all a little bit more. I made the cards all make a little bit more sense together linguistically. I made the words more consistent on the cards. More consistent verbiage is important, I think, in a game where there's always questions about how something gets played. Truthfully, so all of those games, they all felt great. Like, there was nothing I was just like, oh my god, this is broken, I have to fix it. Like, they all felt fine. There were those cards that, those contracts. It was semi-intentional that some of them were weak because it was kind of like a penalty for taking, for wanting to go second. Like, so, I don't know if I mentioned this the other day. The contracts that you earn have a value. That value means nothing. It's not worth any money. It's just who goes first in the round. Whoever has the highest value contract goes first. And going second is really good because it means you get to take the last stab at the market and sway the market before payout. So going second is a good thing. So I anticipated that people would take the low-numbered cards in an effort to go second. And so I penalized those low-numbered cards by making them the weakest. It's the exact opposite. Nobody gives a shit about going second and would rather have the higher-powered card. So I tried to bring the cards a little bit more into parity, so they're a little bit more. There's a little bit more of a like, oh, these two are actually both good. Which one is best for me in this particular situation? And then going first is like this side little. It doesn't really matter to most people. It also got pointed out last night that because the number of connections that you make determine the end of the round, if you want to go second or if you want to go last in the round, just don't make a connection one turn. Just put a train on the board and do nothing. You could do that. I'm not saying that's a good play because you might be giving up money, you might be giving up future potential, you might be giving your opponent a chance to take something away from you, but it is a valid play for going, if you're trying to go last, to just put a train on the board. Also, now that my friend has said that, I have to think about the potential of 2 players deciding not to end the round and just placing one train here, one train there. Like, what happens if 2 players stop playing the game and just runs the deck out of cards, essentially? You could do that. You could each just play a card and put one train on the board and go, and just keep doing that, and the game would end. You basically are not playing the game at that point, and I don't know if that's a problem, but it could be. There could be a stalemate situation where neither player is trying to push the end of the round because they're trying to sway the market in their favor, and they could run the deck out of cards. So I have to think about that eventuality. Is that a possibility? Is that something that I want to even address, or do I just let players do that and, just not play the game, I guess? I don't know. I don't know what the solution there is or whether I even need to worry about it. But, so small tweaks I'm okay with. I'm not changing anything major at this point forward. I think that just like, a Hearthstone or the new Magic Spell Slingers I've been playing, there's going to be, I can modify and tweak small parts of the game up until I find a publisher for it. And I'll probably continue to do so. But I think the major development work is done. The game works. It's great. I enjoy playing it. My friends enjoy playing it. That could be the end of the story right there. I could have one, fully box wrapped, awesome looking prototype printed at the Game Crafter, and that'd be it, and I'd be happy. I have my game. But we'll see. I can't leave it alone. So I'll keep tweaking, keep messing. What'd you do this weekend? Did you play any board games? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends, wonderful people. I really appreciate you. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Today's word you should know to sound smart is nomenclature. It is a noun meaning a labeling or naming system used in a specialized field or industry. Even an activity as seemingly simple as macrame has a nomenclature all its own, indecipherable to the layperson or newbie. Nomenclature. Nomenclature. When I think of nomenclature, I think of my time as a warehouseman in the Marine Corps, I think nomenclature is what we called, like, this would be knife, comma, utility. That's a nomenclature. That's how my brain thinks.